Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Yes, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome to All for United on this lovely summer's evening. We've got a very special show for you tonight. A good few fan channels have decided to come on. And we're going to talk all about Man United, shockingly, on a Man United fan channel. We've got Stu, regular on here, of course. We've got Dale, Jay, and Webby. Thanks for coming on, lads. Appreciate your time.
No problem. No worries.
Shall we just get straight into it? So, guys, it's obviously a Q&A, so get your comments in the comment section. Ask any questions for the panel tonight. I think we're going to start with the very first question in the comments. We've got one here from Paul David Briggs. Should we go into the new season with the youth currently at the club, Levitt, Garner, Garnacho, and the rest? Stu, I'll start with you, mate, because you're just the first to the right of me on my screen. Would you give these guys a chance, or do you think there's more needed, or what do you think?
I think it's a tricky question, and the reason I say that is because most fans have hung their hat on the class of '92 when that came through. That was a bit of a phenomenon when you consider back then how the football structure was. A lot of these youth players were playing against man at a very early age in the reserves. The younger lads today, I mean, me and Carl, we've spoken about this in the past in terms of their overall physical attributes, their physical build. You know, they're 17, 18, 19 years old. You know, should they be built up and should they be ready to go in the first team? I've always said yes. Carl sometimes has said no. But when you look at the class of '92 to where we are today, when you're playing under 23 football, you're playing against guys the same size as you. You know, when Gary Neville was coming through, Paul Scholes was coming through, they were playing against fully grown professional players, whether they were coming back through injury or they just weren't first team starters. So it's a huge difference between then and now. The other thing you've got to consider is that these guys have had very little first team experience. I know Jimmy Garner's been out on loan at Forest and he's done an exceptional job at Forest. Should he come straight into the first team? Should Ten Hag give him a go? Yeah, he should be given a go, like saying with Garnacho and Levitt and Fernandez on tour. But you've got to be very, very careful of how you handle youth today as opposed to youth back in the 90s. I mean, I'm a 70s child. And so, you know, I know what it was like. It was a tough old sport back then. It's easier in terms of being able to make progression. But the rewards that you get by doing that kind of destroy you as a person. And I don't want to go into various players that we've seen go through this in the past. And there's one very well-known player at the minute who's going through a lot of stuff. Too little, too late type thing. So for me, I think we should move away from it. I'm not saying these kids don't deserve an opportunity because everybody in life deserves an opportunity. But for me, I think if we were to go into the new season relying a little bit too heavily on these guys, it could well be a mistake.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, to be fair. Dale, what do you think? Do you think that you should be given an opportunity, or do you think more's needed? What do you reckon, mate?
You see, it's an individual case for each player, really, because it's up to them to take this opportunity. You look at James Garner, and obviously everyone's excited. He had a good season at Forest. They got promoted, and he played a key role in that. But when he comes to Manchester United, we all know it's a different kettle of fish. Now, I hope he does it. And I'm sure Eric Ten Hag hopes he can step up too, because if he can come in as new manager and there's 2 or 3 players that can start breathing into this first team, that's great for him. But that's the best case scenario, isn't it? You know, if these boys aren't ready, then there's no point throwing them in. And I think it's just a matter of trial and error, because we don't know yet when these boys come back to Manchester United. Like I said, it's just a completely different kettle of fish. You know, you have 2 or 3 bad games. James Garner next season, if he does come in, 2 or 3 bad games, and we know what the social media community is like. You know, they'll be all calling him a fraud. They'll be all saying he's not good enough for Manchester United. And you don't really get that chance nowadays. So I think it's up to each player. It's up to whether they can take their opportunities. But I am excited about a few of these guys. I don't want to put a dampener on it because these guys have lots of talent.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, mate, from down the road, how are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah,
I've had to have my window open because it's really warm in the flat. and it's obviously it's echoes. So if there's any loud shouting or chaff screaming, then I do apologise.
I might be able to hear you if you're shouting from your window. That close.
What do you think, mate? I know you speak about it a lot on your channel. You've got David Pritt on me every now and then. What do you reckon about the youth at the club, mate?
Yeah, I think using the youngsters is good as long as you're not putting pressure on them, not expecting too much and throwing them in at the deep end. I think Stu's making a point now about the class of 92. We always talk about the class of 92 and the success they had in 1996. Let's not forget, you had a team that had Eric Cantona leading the way. You had a back four that had Gary Pallister, Steve Bruce, Dennis Irwin, experienced players. Roy Keane, obviously, in midfield, and Peter Schmeichel in goal. Lots of experience. And these players have been brought in over a number of years. Like Beckham had been on loan at Preston. He'd come into the team. Giggs had been in the team for 4 seasons, I think, by the time 96 came around. Gary Neville had been in for a couple of seasons. Nicky Butt had played at the new camp 2 seasons earlier. They had experience. They weren't just all thrown in that season. And people look at it and go, well, we could do that again. You've got to use these youngsters well. You've got to use them gradually. One of the most important commodities at Manchester United is our young players. And I think when people talk to me about United DNA and what United are about, the one thing I always think United are about is our academy. That's the thing from the Busby Babes to, the likes of Best and Whiteside and Hughes, right to the class of 92 to Marcus Rashford or whatever. We've always had young players that have graduated from the academy and played a big part of Manchester United, and we've always looked after them, and I think that's important now. So while I'm excited by the likes of Garnacho and as Dale said, James Garner's had a great spell at Forest, and there's, I'm a big fan of Charlie McNeil. I think he's a phenomenal goal scorer. Would I throw some of these players straight in? Maybe Garner, because he's had that two seasons in the Championships a bit more ready. But the others, I'd either loan him or get him in gradually. What I don't want to see happen is, I don't think it would, but I don't want to see what happens is what happened with Andy Elanga last season. I like Elanga. He's a good kid. But, he was playing every single game and he didn't score for 14 games. And the pressure's on him. And people are questioning him already. Dale said it, I think, about you'll have the Twitter mob on you. I've seen that with Elanga. People going, he ain't good enough. He's this, he's that. He was just playing far too many games for a 19-year-old. I know he's 20 now. Because we were poor elsewhere, we were just like, just keep throwing him in. And Ralph Ragnick seemed to favour him over the likes of Marcus Rashford and 1 or 2 others, and Jesse Lingard. And I just think now, for me, the key is to use them gradually, use them when, almost sparingly. Give him a run out in the Europa League. I almost said Champions League then, I wish. Give him a run out in the Europa League. Give him a run out in the League Cup. Bring them on as a sub now and again. What I don't want to see is the likes of maybe the fullback, Fernandez, who's a good lad, Garnacho, or McNeil, being thrown in when we're losing games, or people relying on him and then turning against him, because they're still youngsters, they're still developing, and we've got to make sure we nurture them properly.
Just to cut in quickly before you get to Webby, just on this, and you look at some of the players that have come to the academy in recent years and players that have excited us, Rashford and that. But you look in the last few years that when these players have got into the first team, and even new signings like Wan-Bissaka that came young, when they hit the first team, the development seems to stall. Now, I look at Rashford, right, and I think he's fantastic. But there's parts of his game where you can question and say, has he been coached? Has he been coached much? Has his game developed to the level that it should be at? And people can quickly turn around and blame him and all these reasons. But there's far too many players you can talk about that have come to Man United in recent years and haven't developed or haven't got improved. And Wan-Bissaka, no area of his game has improved. And that's just not good enough. And you have to start looking at maybe the coaches. So when it comes to these players, what I'm worried about is that the likes of Garnacho and Garner look brilliant. But will they be used properly? Will they be bedded in properly? And not just thrown in as Jay said, Elanga, 14 games just because we haven't got anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been issues with coaching over the past 10 years. When you've got 4 or 5 managers over that time period, it's obviously not going to settle a lot of the players. But I think the point Jay made then was really good about back in 92, and then when 96 came around, we did have the likes of Schmeichel and Roy Keane and all those players in the squad. Whereas nowadays, if the likes of Garner does come in, I don't personally believe he's got that leadership above him to sort of get the best out of him. And I do worry for the lads coming into the squad, because at the minute Twitter's brutal around United, and the culture and the toxicity at the club is brutal. So I really do fear for the lads that it could hinder them and help them. But Webby, come to you, mate. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
What do you reckon, mate? Should we go into the season with the youth currently at the club, or what do you reckon, mate?
It's hard, like Jay said and the other boys said, you don't want to throw them in the deep end, it could go against them. 3 or 4 bad average games and people turn against them, I look at Garner there and I think, I've watched him in the Championship. He looks right, but the Premiership's a different kettle of fish. Do we bring him back? Do we keep him at Forest, where he's going to play week in, week out? Because to be honest, even with our squad now, how many games is he going to get? He's not going to play every week, and will that affect him? I want Garner, Levitt, some of these players to get a club which suits them. Maybe Garner stays at Forest. He plays in the Premiership. He's probably going to play week in, week out for them. But I just worry about some of these kids. Have they got it? I think some of them have, but it's the pressure what they don't need. Like you say, the likes of Beckham and Neville and Scholes, they come in with established players around them. We've been there, wore the T-shirt. They knew what they were doing, and I just think if we throw too many in, like Alanga, I felt sorry for him. The stuff with Greenwood, would Alanga play every game? No, he wouldn't have done, but he did do because we had no one else, and I felt sorry for him. Because he's not scored in so many games. People are thinking, hang on, he's a 19-year-old kid. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, how much pressure does a boy want? You know what I mean? I'm thinking, and some of my mates were slagging him off and thinking he's 19 years of age. Give him a chance. But like normally, under Fergie, you would have seen probably Alanga in a game, out for 4, maybe come on a sub, then maybe start a League Cup game, then disappear again. But we have to use him. And I'm thinking, and then I look at Rashford and thinking, what's happened to him? We know what he can do. Great player. And he's gone off the ball, he's getting slaughtered, and it's affecting his game. He's doing off the field, and I'm thinking, we're in a bit of a mess. So do we want to throw all these kids in? If they're good enough, yeah. But I just feel at the point that maybe we could throw 1 or 2 in around the squad, like towards the end of last season. Ganacho being going with a team, being in the hotel, getting his club tracksuit, staying in the Lauder, all good. But, we need to do something. We need to obviously get a few signings, which we all want, you know what I mean? And I see City buying these, buying there, Liverpool getting stronger. And we're doing nothing, don't be wrong. I think that something will happen within the next few weeks. I've been told on good sources that something will happen, but it's a bit disheartening at the moment, lads.
Dale made a good point. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you then, Stu.
No worries, Bob.
Just you made a good point about youngsters, nurturing the youngsters and improving them and coaching them. How many players have actually signed and improved at United?
Wan-Bissaka, and the other one,
maybe Bruno from his days in Portugal. But very few players have come to United and kicked on and been better than they were at the previous. I don't want to keep talking about it because I'm sure we've all had enough and moved on. Was Pogba better for us than he was for Juve? I don't think so. It's, and who else is that? I mean, Maguire's had a bit of a bad spell. His last couple of seasons at Leicester, he was flying. He's had a decent couple of seasons, but has he really kicked on the way you'd want him to? I'm trying to think of who else. Luke Shaw was a great youngster at Southampton, fantastic player. He's had a good spell at United, but over the last 7 seasons, how many of those seasons have been good? There's very few players where you go, we signed him and he kicked on. And we bought some players when they've been, like you said, Wan-Bissaka, Dale, 21, 22, 23. Shaw was a teenager or whatever. So you'd expect them to get better. You think they'll get better. Even the big ones like Romelu Lukaku, you think he scored 25 goals in his last season for Everton and then comes to us and scores fewer. It's like there's something there with they're not getting coached, they're just getting thrown in, there's not a system or whatever. And I'm hoping, and it is hope rather than expectation because I don't know, but I'm hoping that now we've got a manager in who does seem to know how to play football the right way. He does seem to know how to mix it up with experienced players and younger players. Look at Dusan Tadic when he brought him in from Southampton to Ajax. Turned him into an absolute world beater. And this was Dusan Tadic. He was all right at Southampton. He wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now you look at him, he's banging in goals for fun. I know it's a lower league, the Dutch league, but he was doing it in the Champions League as well. And he was doing it against good Dutch teams. So it's not like he was just doing it against rubbish. Daley Blind's another one who people thought, he's done or whatever, but he's got a really good tune out of him. So, and we've seen what he's done with the likes of Anthony and the other youngsters as well. So he obviously knows what he had, De Jong and Van der Beek and all them lot. So we know that this manager's got a reputation for doing that. And I hope he can, because it really sort of, deflates me when you look at it. And we had this debate, and I know you guys have had it on your channel about how many successful signings have we had post Fergie? How many have actually kicked on when they've arrived at United? Genuinely,
you could probably say what, one or two. You definitely couldn't go more than five, could you? It's mad, isn't it?
Two in 9 years.
I always talk about aptitude and application, Jay. I talk about it all the time. And we've had this debate many a time on our channel about players that come in and they don't kick on. Personal development is almost down to the player as much as to the coach. As much as the coaches are maybe coaching these players, we don't know, obviously, because we're not inside Old Trafford, we're not inside Carrington on a daily basis. But if the players aren't in an environment where you've got a bunch of bad winners as well as bad losers, I'm a terrible winner. If we win a match 4 or 5-0, I want to know why we won 6 or 7, and I fucking hate it. I go off and I start crying literally if we lose. But these players, they don't have that. So what you were saying about the class of 92, when they've got the likes of Schmeichel in there, Roy Keane, you make a mistake, you put a 2 or 3 yard pass and you're looking over your shoulder because you're waiting to be fucking berated, not only by Keane, but by Bruce, by Pallister, by Schmeichel, by Irwin. You're waiting for the inspiration. You make a mistake at Old Trafford today and the players are going, oh, unlucky. What do you mean unlucky? Unlucky? You're a professional footballer, mate. You should be making that 20-yard pass week in, week out, and it's not happening. And that the players aren't developing for two reasons. A, they don't have that mentality within the squad, and B, they're too fucking lazy. I'm sorry to be blunt, lads, but they are lazy. Now, each and every one of us on this panel would give their right leg, their right arm to walk through Carrington on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, and start pre-season training. It would be a dream for us, but these players, they just take it for granted, and it absolutely winds me up. And the other thing I was going to ask you, Webby, was, I take your point about Garner, but I would think he would be better served by going on loan to somewhere like Brighton, maybe for 6 months, the first half of the season, and playing in a footballing type.
Well, that's the exact comment I made on Paddock the other week, Jay, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I said that on Paddock.
I think you're spot on. I just think that obviously when he went out on loan, obviously the first loan move didn't work out for him, and I just think that he's found his match at Forest. He's loved by the fans. He plays every week. I watched him in that playoff final, and I look at that tackle he made. I know probably all you lads seen it, and I thought that's something we're missing in the middle of the park. We haven't had that for years. Someone with a crunching tackle, and that's nothing against Fred or McTominay or whoever plays in there. It was just like he wanted to win the ball, and I love all that. Watching United, I see those tackles going. I've been lucky. I've seen Robbo in his prime. I've seen Keane making those. We've not had that for years. Sometimes that gets the crowd up. A tackle, it changes the game. It gets the crowd up, gets your teammates up. And I watch teams there just walking through our midfield, and I want to cry. I want to jump on that pitch myself. I want to go crazy, but Garner. Don't get me wrong, I've been lucky to see Garner go and play from being like 10, 11 years of age and watch his development, and I think that, as I say, if he's good enough, I think he's good enough, but I don't want him to come back and he's going to play here and there, like you say, at Brighton or stay at Forest, where you're going to play week in, week out, and it'll only help the club, it'll just benefit Manchester United.
But the only worry with Forest, and the only worry is, if they have a start, a slow start to the season, they struggle through that 6 months, it could be difficult. So I thought someone like Brighton, or even Southampton actually, would be a good fit for him. Into a proven Premier League side, proven Premier League players, a team that's played together for a while, it just could help him get to grips with the Premier League and then maybe come back in January after the World Cup, like you say, or stay where he is and then kick on for the following season.
What's the script? Because is Dean Henderson a done deal to Forest on loan?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Does that mean Garner can't go on loan to Forest?
Yeah, I think they're only allowed one loan.
You can only allow
one loan. Yeah, that's true.
Loan from the club. That's what I was under the impression of. But like the thing he said with Brighton are a great footballing club. They finished 9th, I think, under Potter. Good team. I know Callum Hughes making this point of the day. They've just lost, I think, Yves Bissouma to Spurs, maybe. I think is the other kid, is it Casado in the midfield there? And the other one whose name escapes me. They've got a good midfield, haven't they? Well, we know that. We got done 4-0 off him. So, somewhere like that. Yeah, it would. But I think for me, that's us as fans wanting that rather than Graham Potter going, I want James Garner.
Yeah.
But going back to the point Webby was making about smashing players or just showing a bit of fight or whatever. For me, as a United fan, the lowest point for a multitude of reasons was the 5-0 against the Scousers.
Yeah.
Now, when you lose 5-0 against Scousers, it was a horrible, horrible day, right? But one of the lowest points of that, Cristiano Ronaldo kicks the ball at Curtis Jones. Every single Liverpool player surrounds him. Every one of them. The goalkeeper, Canate's in his face, Virgil van Dijk's in his face, Andrew Robertson and all them lot. Fred and Bruno are the only ones who get involved. You've got 8
at Old Trafford, yeah.
At Old Trafford, stood there watching it from 50 yards away or long further away. Now, Webby, you'll remember the battle of, against Arsenal where everyone got involved. Do you know what I mean? There was a day where if it kicked off, everyone got involved. You didn't just leave your mate stood there on his own arguing with Scousers. And it was just unbelievable to me that we're getting battered. The crowd are going berserk. You've got Cristiano Ronaldo getting surrounded and pushed about, and only 2 of his teammates wanted to know. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was a disgrace. And I think that's the sort of attitude that Erik Ten Hag has got to get rid of. We're in this together. Too many players. And Stu, you call them lazy. And I'll argue with that slightly. I don't know if they are lazy. I think what we've got is too many players who, you can argue it's connected, go missing, don't want to take responsibility. I don't know if it's necessarily they're not the lazy as such. I think they shirk away from it. And I think you need players who've got that personality, who've got that sort of bravado to go, I belong at Old Trafford. This is my football ground, and I'm going to show you it's my football ground. And I want that ball. I want to get involved. Bruno has it. Yes, he can. I know he can be erratic, but he wants the ball constantly. He'll get involved in things. Sometimes he gets involved in too many things, admittedly. But you can never doubt that Bruno Fernandes believes he deserves to be on that football pitch. And there's too many. I look at him and I just think, it's like that old saying, it's true, would I want to go to war with you? I don't think I would. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, agreed.
Seeing that against Liverpool, for me, it was awful.
There was fans
who wanted to get on the pitch. Yeah, the fans wanted to get on the pitch and get involved. And the players didn't want to know.
I think the worrying thing about this too is that this has happened with a large section of these players twice. You remember Mourinho reign. There was a time there that United fans really fell out of love with the squad. The team itself, they weren't fighting for one another. And then we're seeing it again. And that's not a long time apart. So that shows you the kind of job that Ten Hag has. If he doesn't get this right quickly and sort out the dressing room in the mood, it's going to cost better control again. It's only a matter of time. So there's some bad eggs in there still. And remember Ollie got rid of a lot of bad eggs. Obviously, he didn't get to finish his job. I think still to this day, a lot of us feel sad about that because we wanted nothing more than him to achieve. But ultimately, you look back at the season we had last season, as bad as things got under Ollie, and then it got worse under Rangnick. The players thrown their towel in around that time against Liverpool. That was it. That was it. That wasn't even Christmas time. I hear United fans saying by Christmas they'd given up on the league, given up on the season almost. That was October. And that's how bad it was. It wasn't even Christmas time.
It was a fact that Liverpool game, the best player on the pitch was, it was the 4-0 one, this one, wasn't it? The best player on the pitch was Hannibal. And the only reason why that was is because he came on and kicked one part of one of the Scousers. Something that I can guarantee we all wanted to do that. It's just, it's ridiculous. Changed, You've got a group of players on that pitch who, maybe not lazy, but their attitude was quite simply disgraceful to play for Manchester United. If that is how you represent yourself on a football pitch, then you don't deserve to be there. You don't deserve to have that shirt on. And that's the thing that does my head in. I think we've seen that so much this season. And I think that's why people are so angry. I think people can take losing. It's not nice. Everyone wants to win it all the time. But you can take losing. It's part of football. But what people can't, and certainly speaking for myself here, what I can't take is watching these guys give up almost. It's like they don't believe in themselves. It's something's happened that's so rotten at the club that it really has just changed the culture around the team. It's like Jay said then, you've got Ronaldo kicking the ball and all their teammates straight away came and defended him, and then you had Fred and Bruno come and defend. Like the team's very disjointed, it's very unbalanced, they don't work for each other, and it's something that's been going on for ages. But anyway, just
to put in quickly and playing devil's advocate a small bit, because everyone, we've all been angry with the players this season. But just to turn it around a bit, we're talking about responsibilities and players taking responsibility. From top to bottom at this club, no one does. You have to remember that too. And I think in recent years, maybe in the last 8 to 10 years, we've seen that breed into the team. So we're asking these players to take responsibility. But on Friday, the owners took 11 million worth of dividends out of the club. Now, are any of the directors, Richard Arnold, them, are they questioning that? Because a week or so ago, Arnold spoke about the club burning through money, right? And the need for investment and so on, right? But why isn't he questioning that takeout of money on Friday? We need money,
£126 million
we need
since
investment.
2016.
So it just doesn't make sense. So we're asking players, and I think a few players might feel this too, because they can see the club is rotten. Of course they can. They're not blind.
Well, I think, was it Luke Shaw who made the comment, didn't he, about it? He said, he was unhappy, or it affects, what's going on above him. Obviously sort of trickles down to the players or whatever. And I get that. And as a fan, when you see the Glazers taking money out of the club, it just infuriates you. And I'm not in any way defending them at all, because I think it's disgusting what they've done to the club. I've said it a million times. I keep saying it. They've just been bad for Manchester United as soon as he got involved. And I just wish there was, someone who cared, who could come in and take the club off him. But then the flip side to that, sorry to keep flipping around, I know you was Dale playing devil's advocate, I get that. But when Luke Shaw said that, I was with him. But then part of me thinks, that's not an excuse for you not to mark Mo Salah.
Yeah. Do you
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You can't tell me I'm not picking my man up because the Glazers are taking money out of this football club and it's a circus upstairs. Come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, I understand that. We all love Ralph Ragnick when he was calling out the owners and saying that he wanted this player and didn't get him. And again, I get all that. But when you're losing as many games as he did, it's difficult not to think, all right, still though, we've got to see more than getting beat 4-0 off Brighton and, getting absolutely hammered off Liverpool and all that stuff. So you're right about the owners and what's going on above, and it is terrible. But also, going back to the point that Stu was making a bit earlier, and I think Webby was as well, just that responsibility, individual responsibility from players, they've just got to show. They've got to show. So, yes, you can call it. It's not mutually exclusive. I do it as a fan. I'll call out the Glazers, but I still love the club. You as a player, you can be unhappy with the owners, you can be unhappy with what's going on, but you can still turn up for the badge. And I think that's what's been lacking from some players at times.
Well, yeah, no, very good point, mate. Right, I'm going to move on because I want to get through a few more questions from people in the comments. So we've got one here from Santa Notch. Good to see you in the comments, mate, as usual. Evening, guys. Do you think we've been focusing on getting De Jong over the line first so that future signings can suit a setup based around him? Do you think we're not getting any other deals because we're so hell-bent on getting him that future deals will effectively include for why we get De Jong? Stu, go for you first, mate.
Well, on face value, you would sorry. On face value, you would see that appears to be the point, or appears to be the case that the focus is getting De Jong through the door before Ten Hag then goes after his other subjects. The danger of that is the longer the De Jong deal drags out. And if you believe the press, it's pretty much imminent. I know Jay did a video on it a few hours ago. It's pretty imminent.
I think the last one I did was yesterday. But to be honest with you, I should have said every video on De Jong I've done for the last 2 weeks has been the same. We're almost there. It's imminent any day now.
Yeah,
the club's talking. A new bid will be made shortly. I only report what the papers are saying, but all the stories are the same.
But herein lies the issue, though, and I've got to point this out, that if you drag a deal out because you're waiting to get a player through the door, and that player is then pivotal to how you want to play, and you're looking to get 2 or 3 players in around him to complement them in your first 11 or your squad, the longer you take to do that, the less chance you have of effectively getting the other players that you need to make the first cog actually turn correctly. So we've been pouncing about waiting for De Jong when we could have actually gone for the actual peripheral players that he wants, that he needs to affect De Jong to work. Because it's all right going and spending 76 million quid or whatever it is on De Jong, walking him through the door to our current squad of players because we've run out of time to get the rest. So what do you do? So Frankie De Jong by himself isn't going to come and just kickstart Manchester United into a title-winning side or a top 4 side or a Champions League side. He's not going to be able to do that. I'm not overly fussed about Frankie de Jong, Cal, as you know. He's, you know, I know he's an excellent footballer, don't get me wrong, but you're going to need a supporting cast with him. You really are. The only benefit for us to having de Jong at the moment is he's a ball taker. He will take the ball from deep and he'll progress the play. Okay, and that's what we desperately need. But then we've had many issues with width, as you guys all know. We've had many issues with coverages on full-backs. You know, so it's all right bringing de Jong in, but what are you then going to do? So if you have got 2 or 3 players that you need to sign to make the de Jong thing work, you need to get your supporting cast in first, in my opinion, rather than hang everything out for Frankie de Jong. We've obviously got the forgotten soul. I can't remember his name now. Van der Beek coming back, and it could well be that Ten Hag wants to use Van der Beek and de Jong together again, like he used to with Ajax. In which case, that's not too much of an issue. But the longer you drag something out, it's no good. And one other thing I would say, if I'm Frankie de Jong, by the way, I would have wanted to know 2 weeks ago, when I come off my holiday, which door am I going through? Am I going through Manchester United's door? Am I going through Barcelona's door? Because whichever door I go through, and as soon as that closes for pre-season, that's where I'm going to hang my hat. Because I don't want to do 2 weeks or 3 weeks worth of pre-season at one club and then switch to another because you've got to restart. And one other quick point. Sorry, guys. We talk about non-development of players. We seem to forget that a lot of the signings we've had recently aren't coming in to the end of July. So they're not getting the pre-season with our team. They're not getting to understand what it's like to understand Manchester United before they walk out to Old Trafford in front of 76,000. So that's just my viewpoint on it. I could well be completely wrong. De Jong could be an absolute steal for us. It could be the best thing since we know. But I just think we've got to concentrate on other areas.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the de Jong deal is I do wonder, because it's probably right to be sceptical of United over the last 10 years, but I do believe that they're focusing on de Jong so much because they don't want to get others that Ten Hag might not like or want, or the players that they come in are perfect for to play with de Jong, but then he doesn't come. So the worry that I have personally is I think they've only focused on the de Jong deal because they simply don't know how to do multiple deals. I think we've seen it in so many transfer windows, you know, panic buys, last minute deals kind of thing. And the problem we've got is we always struggle to seem to, from the outside looking in, of course, we always seem to struggle to do 2 negotiations with 2 different players. And I don't understand why, you know, considering the only thing we seem to be linked with at the minute is former Ajax players or Ten Hag's former players. I'm a little concerned as to what the scouts are doing. Surely there's a whole array of a scouting network there that should be looking at alternatives, looking at other players that come in as well. So I'm a little sceptical, really, but I don't think there's any blame in that, considering what's happened over the last 10 years. Dale, mate, what do you think? Go on, Webby.
Sorry. You look at it there under Fergie with David Gill, you know, we used to bully clubs. We used to get players in. Everything was signed before pre-season training was done. You know, we'd get 3 or 4 players in, and sometimes you'd be shocked. Oh, we didn't know it was linked with him. And it always worked. But it's like, now you're spot on. Can't we negotiate 2 or 3 deals? It's like, I look at the Fellaini deal. That's all that comes to mind. The last minute of the transfer window. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought Fellaini got a lot of stick playing for United. I thought he did a job for us. I thought he was decent, you know. But I look at that now and I think that's how we work. You know, have we got plans? When this manager was identified, surely he said to him, I want player A, player B, player C. I mean, every day I put Sky Sports News on it. De Jong this, are we getting him? He don't want to come. Are we paying this? You know, it's an absolute disgrace. You know, with Manchester United Football Club, we're acting like a Sunday League club. And and I couldn't tell you when we're going to sign someone. You know, I hope it's tomorrow. We get them all in. But you look at the owners, you look at the club, and we're a laughing stock. You know, and we're a million miles, and it hurts to say, we're a million miles behind City and Liverpool. And if it keeps going like that, we're a million miles behind Chelsea and Spurs. You know, and someone's got to be sorted quick, because if the right players don't come in with some of the players we've got there who don't deserve to be at the club, It's just going to get worse, lads.
No, it really is. I mean, I'm already done with this season, and it's not even July yet. Do you know what? I managed to get a cup season ticket because I couldn't get a league season ticket, right? So I was excited, like have my own ticket, be able to go to all the games, stuff like that. But I already can't be asked, if I'm being honest.
You've got your ticket, did you, Cal?
I got a cup ticket, yeah. I couldn't get a league one, so I managed to get a cup one. But you know, I have many contacts, don't I, Jay, that help me with tickets for the league games, don't I? So,
He's done. Look, I have many contacts as well. I'm looking at one of them. It's a merry-go-round on this for him, isn't it?
I was excited. Like end of May, start of June, new manager. Surely they'll get the transfers right this year, and they clearly haven't. They clearly haven't changed. And honestly, I just can't be bothered with it already. Anyway, Jay, what do you think, mate? Do you think we've been focusing too much on De Jong? Should we have maybe gone for alternatives?
I don't mind us getting like I'd rather we get the right player that Ten Hag wants, and it takes a couple of weeks than we get his.
Like it took 6 years though.
Yeah, like if we got De Jong over the line in the next, before the window closes, and that was a player that Ten Hag wanted, then I'd be happy. I'd rather that player came in than we got a second best or a player that he wasn't keen on. But it is frustrating, and I get what everyone's saying, especially when you look at our rivals. When Webby's right, our rivals are miles ahead of us. And the sad thing about it is, right now, if we're being brutally honest in terms of where we are in the league, our rivals ain't City and Liverpool. We ain't going to be challenging City and Liverpool next season, I don't think, anyway. It'd be amazing. We're going to be challenging the likes of Spurs and Arsenal and maybe Villa for that top 4 place. Or, there might be another one I've forgotten, or Wolves or whatever. Because I think next season is going to be the same. I think we're going to be fighting for top 4. Because I think City buying Haaland, Liverpool buying Nunes, with the squads he already had, the players he already had, it's going to be too difficult for Ten Hag in his first season anyway to catch him. And when I look at Spurs, and they've gone out, they bought Basuma, they bought Perisic. I think they're in for the kid spends. Arsenal have just bought Gabriel Jesus from City. I think that's a decent signing for them. I think it is. He's won the Premier League. How many of their players have done that? He scores goals in big games. He's not terrible. I mean, he's not the best City player. That's why they're letting him go, but he'll do a job at Arsenal. He's probably going from being one of City's worst players to being Arsenal's best. So you see that rivals doing things, and you go,
Arsenal's best player, to be fair, Joe.
Yeah, that's true. And you go, all right, what are we doing? And it's like, we're getting a De Jong deal done. We're getting a De Jong deal. It does feel a bit stupid that a club the size of Manchester United can't work on multiple deals. And Webby mentioned David Gill before. I remember in sort of the summer of, was it 2011? And it was De Gea, Jones and Young within a week. It was like, what? Right, okay. Sorted. And we've had that in the past. Now, some players are worth waiting for. Dwight York was a last-minute signing. In terms of, he only got 300, it dragged on because John Gregory didn't want to sell him, but he was worth waiting for when we did get him. So some players are worth waiting for, but the frustrating thing for me now is we're not in this Fergie era. We're not in the era of buying Dwight York to help us win the treble. We're in an era where we're fighting for top 4. We're fighting against teams that are strengthening, and we're not doing it quick enough. We're not doing it at different levels or with different players. We're doing it one at a time. And there's a danger as well that we're not able to tempt the type of players we were in the past. If United were in for you 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you'd wait for us. United are in for me. Well, I'm waiting. If United are in for me, I'll wait. I won't sign for anyone else. Players did that. Because you come United, you challenge for Champions League, you win with league titles. You know that? Players aren't doing it now. There's talk of Christian Eriksen not being decided whether he wants to stay at Brentford and go to Manchester United. Can you imagine that 10 years ago or 20 years ago? It'd have been a no-brainer. United are in for you. Oh, yeah, not a question. Now he's like, well, Brentford took a chance on me. I'm settled in London. United are a shambles. It's a toss-up. So we've got to be mindful of that. We're not the pull that we used to be. And we can't just think we can drag our heels and players will wait for us or players will come to us because we're Manchester United Football Club. Them days are gone. They really are. And that's what worries me a little bit about this sort of focusing on one player at a time, is you might be missing out on others, as Stu was saying.
That sentence alone is crazy, though, isn't it? You can't decide between Brentford and Manchester United. Goodness sake!
I mean, I think there's an emotion. I might be being harsh. I think there's it looked like he wasn't going to play football again. Brentford gave him a bit of a lifeline. Pardon the pun, that was a bad one. And he took it. And he might feel like they were there for me when no one else was, or whatever. I've heard he's got family in London. He's settled or whatever. But It is a bit like, come on, really? And I think it's a bit of an indication as to where we're at, because you're right. No disrespect to Brentford, but they've had one season in the Premier League. They're not, they're not half the size of Manchester United. And if United come in for you, you should be like snapping our hands off, really, especially when you've played 11 Premier League games last season. Didn't really do well at Inter Milan when he went there. Was not getting in the Spurs team under Jose. So it's not like Christian Eriksen's had a great few years. So, you think a move to United when he's 30 years old would be great for him. But from what we gather, he can't make his mind up.
I think as well, going into this transfer window, we all wanted to see the club be a bit proactive. We haven't seen that in years. And I think the reasons for the club focusing on De Jong for so long is because he's going to take up the majority of the transfer kitty. And it's been reported by numerous outlets that the Ten Hag's not going to have this bottomless pit to rebuild the squad this summer. There's obviously some limitations. I think he hasn't probably listed exactly who we're going to go for until he knows how much is left. And that's a fear I've had for a few weeks. And the more I see stuff being reported, I think it really is the case, because there's a lot of names fluffing around about who they're going to go for after De Jong. But there's no clear indication even what position that is. You see Jurriën Timber, Martinez, Anthony, Neves, all these players, but there's no real clear indication of who they actually definitely want to get in after De Jong. I think that's undecided because they've been waiting to find out how much they can get him for. But as for waiting for him, and I think fans are probably feeling patient because there's been so many years of incompetence. I don't blame them, but I think Jay nails it as well, that we've brought in a manager who has clearly identified a player that he wants to build his team around. Now, in the past, we've absolutely lambasted Ed Woodward for overseeing transfer decisions and going his own way in the market and not backing a manager. But I think this summer they're trying to get in who he wants at the very least, and they need to do that, because I don't want to be talking about this in a few months' time and making excuses and saying they didn't back the manager. If they go out and they get in who he wants, well then fair enough. If it takes a bit long, I think it's better than going into the season, everyone being unhappy and missing out on players and not getting Frankie De Jong. I think if they weren't to get him, I'm pretty sure it's almost done. Pretty sure it's almost done. But if they weren't to get Ten Hag's number one target, that would have been dreadful. That would have been a bad.
I wouldn't be surprised as well. It's been a recurring theme, though, on it not getting the manager's number one targets. They've ended up having to go for the fourth or fifth, and a lot of the time it's not worked. But anyway, I want to move on anyway and get another question in. So Jay, in the mountains. Okay, going back to
it's my mate. This Jay's my pal. I know Jay.
Is it? I was going to say in the mountains. Just not. I just wondered what that was.
He lives in Eccles, so I don't know why he's in the mountains. But go.
Going back to leaders in the team, who would you guys choose for captaincy going forward? And obviously, Harry Maguire's got the captaincy at the moment.
Webby's reaction there said it all when you asked that one. Webby went hard.
Go on, who do you reckon, lad? Who do you reckon? Do a bit of a quick fire one, because I want to get a few more questions in anyway, because there's a few on Twitter as well. What I lost. So, what do we reckon? Go shout out a name who you want. Webby, I feel like you've probably got a few names.
Not really. I look at the club. I'm thinking, who's there to lead the team? When Keano was captain, we had 11 captains. We had the armband, but you could count on, backed up by everyone. But who now? I can't think of anybody. People say give it Ronaldo, but he's probably the best choice, to be honest. But I can't think of anybody else now. If you'd asked me this question 8-9 years ago, I'll give you 5 or 6. Do the job. Now I haven't got shard of glue, mate. I'll be truthful with you.
I'll just jump in after Webby. I think Webby's right. My thoughts, Cal. We got bigger problems than who wears the armband. Trust me. There's nobody out there. If I was playing in that squad, I wouldn't pay any attention to any of them. Not one little bit. I wouldn't pay any attention to any of them, because
on that though, Stu, who would you pick? You're right. I don't know disagreeing with you. I think we have got one, but who out of everyone, who would you go
I'd leave it at Maguire. I'm with Webby. I don't see anyone better or worse, to be honest. So, but to be honest, Jay, I've got to be honest, mate. I never paid a blind bit of notice to my skipper. I was too busy concentrating on my game and bollocking the people in and around me if they were, giving the ball away or weren't tracking back. I never paid a blind bit of notice to my skipper, never. So it's just how I played. That was all.
Well, that's the sad thing, though. The United captain should be someone you take notice of. People
Exactly.
took notice of Brian Robson. People took notice of Roy Keane, or Rio Ferdinand or Gary Neville, and not just our own players. The opposition. You knew when United captain was in your face. You knew when you were up against it at Old Trafford, and that's the sad. Because I don't disagree with either you or Webby. I think you're both right. Webby did a big sigh when he was asked, and I was the same. I was like, I'd probably go with Ronnie, but I know it's only one season, isn't it? Really, you're gonna get out of him as captain, but maybe that gives you a year to find someone else.
I give it to Ronaldo for the year for the simple reason is he's the only player there that I could argue is a winner, and Manchester United should have team loads of winners, and that's the one basis that I'm giving it off. A captain for me, I want someone crunching into tackles. I want someone with a bit of character about him that's going to be caught in the middle of a row. We haven't got someone like that, right? So forget that. You could also argue that in the modern game, the significance of the captain's armband is much less. It's not as big as it used to be, and that's probably to do with some of the personalities in the game nowadays. Unfortunately, the game's been almost watered down. But if we look at the squad right now, David Gea, I have question marks over. He's not the most vocal, by any means. He's not the most. He's never been the most brave either. So he's not a captain for me. Harry Maguire, I think it's more of a hindrance to him than a beneficiary. I don't think he's the right character for the armband. I think the last year it's been bad for him performance wise. But I don't look at Harry Maguire and think he's a rubbish footballer. I think he had an awful season. I think the captaincy and all that makes matters a lot harder for him. The spotlight is shining on his face, and I think it should be taken off him as soon as fucking possible, ASAP, for his own sake. Because I do think that there's a player in Maguire. I think that, of course, Ten Hag could work something in him. I don't think he should be thrown away or the way some people dismiss him. A lot of players have had bad seasons, and if you're going to point the finger, you might as well point it at all of them after last year. But Ronaldo, for me, he's the only one that I can see, he's a winner and that he should be at that football club.
I mean, there is one school of thought, though, fellas, and that is, for me, if you're captain of Manchester United, fuck me. Can you imagine being captain of Manchester United? Yeah. Can you just imagine it, walking out in front of the Old Trafford faithful, being captain of Manchester United? If that can't get you up, when you're in the dressing room, when you're at training, when you're out and about in Manchester or wherever you live in, when you're playing against the best teams in the world, and that can't get you up at being skipper, having that armband and walking out, nothing will elevate you as an individual or a player. You've got to question why you're pulling on the red shirt.
Well, I'm glad to see we all had a clear identity of who we wanted as captain. Anyway, that was handy.
Who's yours, Callum? Who did you say?
I don't know, to be honest. Do you know what? If I had to choose, I think. Oh, do you know what? I actually.
You can't say Ronaldo.
Maybe Bruno. Maybe Bruno because he's always screaming at the referee. And
do you know what? I would have said Bruno, but I think if you give him the captain's armband, he might just explode. He's that angry anyway, and argues the ref anyway. If you put an armband on him, I think that might be one step too many.
Do you know what? Though, I like seeing that. People always moan at him for being a whinge bag. I'm the biggest frigging moaner in the world, and I get away with it.
You're not.
Well, I'd reckon I'd give people a run for them.
It's close, this one, actually. Yeah, I'm veering towards Webby there, but it's close, Webby. He's not far behind you. Give it another 20 years, Cal.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm only 26. I shouldn't be this miserable all the time. Do you know what I mean? No, there should be a clear option. The fact that Maguire's captain at the minute, he's done a lot. I don't personally think he's a captain of Manchester United. I'd be surprised to say he's a captain of any club, to be honest. But that's another debate in itself, really, isn't it? I'd probably give it to Bruno just because he is one of the few on the pitch who seem to look like they care, I think. He's always in the referee's face. He's always whinging and moaning at things. He seems like he actually wants to try. And in sort of a trait of a captain, I don't think that's particularly a bad thing. other than, you know, again, but he's still not the clearest of choices, is he? I understand people saying Ronaldo, but I don't know. I'd probably go Bruno, but at this point, I fucking don't even care anymore. Right, yeah. So I had a question on Twitter for you lads anyway. Within the current crop, who do the panel feel will have the greatest resurgence and growth being managed by Ten Hag? Is there a player who you think he'll come in and Ten Hag will massively improve them?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in first and say Jadon Sancho. For the belief that we spoke about players joining the club and not developing. And I think that's a result, again, and someone else said it, that we've had, say, so many managers come in and out in X amount of years, and there has been a sense of consistency or a plan. I think when you have a manager who has a clear system in place, we've seen this with, say, Liverpool, they know what they want in the transfer market. They know what kind of players can come in and fit exactly that kind of system. And I hope then that breeds, you know, further down the line. So I think the likes of Sancho, who went to Borussia Dortmund and played in a system, will find it much easier knowing every week what his role is. I think in previous seasons at Manchester United, you play week by week, and we don't really know what to expect from the team. We should be beating these teams on paper, but we just look, I don't know, we just look lackluster. And these teams that are way, way, way lower than us are outrunning us every week, out-muscling us every week, out-fighting us every week, and we just sit there and just look lax. You know, I'm hoping now with a system in place, a lot of these players will feel more comfortable playing for Manchester United and will know exactly what they want. And I think one player that will really benefit from that is Jadon Sancho next season.
Yeah, I was going to say Sancho. So that kind of leaves me my backup option, which is going to be Rashford. I think. I think we might see a better Marcus Rashford, a bit of a more all-rounded Marcus Rashford. You know, he's already bulking himself back up. He looks focused as I've seen him in pre-season for the last couple of years. If you can get Marcus Rashford back to the old days when he was scoring 20 goals a season, the same as Martial, he used to attack the diagonals of the penalty area beautifully. That's where we used to get most of our penalties from. He used to really commit fullbacks. Last season, I don't really recall us ever committing a fullback. You know, we were brilliant at doing that, and that's why we were so dangerous. If you can get Marcus Rashford back to that type of form where he's got the confidence with the ball at his feet, but yet he's also willing to work back and help Luke Shaw or Tellers or whoever is going to be playing at left back, if he plays on the left, that is, then you'll see a more dangerous Rashford. But going back to what Dale was saying, I think you're right. I think Rashford and Sancho playing in a system, a bit more of a structured system than what we've been playing for the last couple of years, will help them. So it'd be Rashford for me.
Do you know what? I've got a little bit of an annoyance, not with Rashford, but with something I've seen about Rashford.
You've got about 500 annoyances.
Yeah, that's true. No, but something really annoyed me. So it might have been the Mirror, so it kind of says everything you need. But they were reporting saying something about Rashford saying how he's been lifting heavier weights and going for morning runs. Is that how desperate you have to be to get a story about Man United? Fuck me, a professional footballer going out and exercising is not news. Like, what are they doing? Anyway,
I would say, Cal, that says more about the media than the player.
Well, no, that's what I mean. It's not Rashford's fault, bloody hell. Like, he's allowed to go for a run, and if he, you know, but why are the newspapers reporting that? Like, what is the fucking point? Jay, who do you think is going to improve?
Do you know what? I agree with Dale and I agree with Stu to a degree, but I don't even know for definite who Ten Hag's going to pick, whether he's going to play Rashford on the left, whether he's going to give Sancho the games he needs. The only player I feel pretty certain is going to get a start out of almost everyone other than Ronaldo, and I certainly don't see him improving under Ten Hag, is David De Gea. He seems to have put his eggs in that basket at the minute. He's letting Dean Henderson go. And I wonder whether David De Gea could actually benefit from having Ten Hag as his manager. Because I've been quite critical of De Gea over the last few seasons. I think there's a reason Dean Henderson got in the team, and that wasn't because Dean Henderson was amazing. It's because David De Gea's levels dropped off. And I think his command of his area, his distribution isn't good enough. And I just wonder whether Ten Hag, he must know these things, and yet he feels like he can work with him. So maybe there's a reason there. So I'll be quite curious. I'm not confident that he's going to come in and turn David De Gea into, Van der Sar Mark 2 or whatever. But I'll be quite interested to see that, because he obviously feels that he's his number one. And he obviously has this system where the goalkeeper does play out from the back and does, distribute the ball. And that's not really been David De Gea's forte. So I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe Ten Hag's got a plan to get the best out of David De Gea in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I've been well critical of De Gea. I'm actually quite annoyed that Henderson's left, to be honest. I've been on air loads. I've said it on Twitter. I don't think we should have let Henderson go. I think he should be probably starting for us, really. But Webby, do you have a player in mind that you reckon Ten Hag will improve?
Yeah, Sancho, I looked at him last year. He started off very quiet. Obviously, he wasn't getting in the team. But we've seen in glimpses, in some matches there. He was probably our best player. It was 3 or 4 matches, and he come out of the team, and then obviously he got the injury and the illness at the end. But on his day, I look at him and I'm thinking, that's why we fought for him for 2 years. I'm a great fan of his, you know what I mean? And on his day, he can win matches. And I just think with the right coaching, the right amount of game time, because I felt sorry for him. 1 minute he's on the left, 1 minute he's on the right, then he's on the bench and he's in the stands. If he gets a good run of games, we get the player we see at Dortmund, the player we see for England, and I think he's a great player. And I just think under this new manager with the right training, I think we've got a world beater there. People might laugh at me saying world beater, but I just think he's a great player. And with the right management, the right training, I think we get a great player next year. Fingers crossed.
He was very safe, wasn't he, Webby, at the beginning? Very safe.
Yeah.
He was playing it very safe. He'd get the ball, he'd pop it off. I'm not saying he
wasn't
didn't
taking people on, was it?
That's right, yeah.
And then
Just playing a safe game.
Started doing it, with ease.
If they remember too, that when he came to United, he wasn't just joining a way bigger club, but the narrative around him at the time was that he couldn't get into the England squad. So a lot of people were kind of questioning whether United wasting all this money on this player that can't even get into Southgate's plans. That takes a bit to deal with too. And coming back to the Premier League, he also had something to prove there as well. I think definitely in his first season, considering how disappointing it was from an overall perspective, Webby mentioned that we've seen some glimpses. I've definitely seen enough to think that, I reckon he could be a good player for us. I'm just hoping that, like we mentioned, all these systems, and Jay is right. Ultimately, a lot of us are talking out through our arse at times when we talk about systems, because we haven't watched the Ajax the whole time. But from what people are reading and saying in systems and talking about it simplistically, I think that hopefully the football we're trying to play, that when we're watching it, that we'll see that the players understand what they're doing. When we take to the pitch, we know what Man United are going to do every week. At the past season or so, that wasn't the case. So that's the one thing I'm hoping for.
We know what it is. We need to play Leeds every week. Jadon Sancho against Leeds was likely one of the best players I've ever seen. Scott McTominay against Leeds was like Brian Robson. What was going on? If we play Leeds every week, we're laughing.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to beat them every week. I want to try and grab squeeze in one more question. There's only a few minutes left. Grant Campbell on Twitter said, who needs to have a good season next season? Is there anyone kind of on last chance saloon now? If they don't have a good season next year, they're gone effectively.
I don't even think it's a full season. I think Marcus Rashford by Christmas has to show us something. I love Marcus Rashford. I do. I love him for what he does on the pitch and off the pitch. But he's had a terrible season. He really has. And I think that he's a player that's going to be under pressure. Everton has got no loyalty to. He doesn't owe him anything. Whereas maybe under Ole might have been like, you've been there for me in the past. I'm going to stick with you. Everton isn't going to do that. And I think if he gets to sort of halfway through the season, and Marcus Rashford has had a continuation of what he had at the back end of last season. Well, not even the back end, really, the last 6 months of last season. I think he might end up going. And that'll be sad to see because I love the kid. But I've got to be honest, call it as I see it. I just think he's just not been good enough at all for a little bit too long now, and he's got to improve. He really has. I agree with what other people said. I think that Ten Hag could get a better out of him, and I think there is a great player there. But if we don't see it within, the first sort of 3 or 4 months under Ten Hag, I think Marcus, unfortunately, could end up going.
It'd be Donny van der Beek. Actually, it'd be a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them have got to pull up their I know, fucking start playing football. But I'd like to see some football sense and common sense. But actually, it'd be Donny van der Beek for me. You know, if he comes back, plays under a manager that he knows, a manager knows how to get the best out of him. And if he does pair him up with De Jong, if De Jong ever does walk through the door, it's going to be Donny van der Beek. If he doesn't perform this season, then you've got to cut your losses and go. And I'll be really quick on that one.
I think I agree with Jay that up to Christmas, Rashford, there's going to be a lot of questions asked and he needs to improve. But throw another name in there, I think McTominay needs to vastly improve. It's a player about maybe 12, 18 months ago, like the side of. I thought he's going to be a really good squad player. But what we've seen is he's played a lot of football in the past year. He's been in dreadful form. And what I've been really questioning towards the end of last season is passing. Passing is awful. Manchester United, we cannot afford. I don't care who's in midfield. Pogba. I don't care. Paul Scholes comes back. We can't afford to have midfielders that can't pass the ball. We're losing the ball every fucking week, and that has to change. And unless McTominay suddenly develops that area of his game, that's a player in a year's time that I think, you need to go.
Spot on, McTominay. Took the words out of my mouth, Dale. You know, you centre midfield for Man United. You know, you've got to be there. You've got to be able to pass the ball.
Stop running away.
You've got to do things what other players can't do at other clubs. And if he doesn't, he'll end up at Rangers or Celtic. Simple as that. You know, to play centre midfield for United, you know, you look at the greats we've all seen, Robbo, Keane, you know, great players. And for me, he gives the ball away. And it's not just like once or twice, it's 6, 7, 8, 9 times a game. Little simple passes. He's passing to them. Massive season for Scott. And like you said, if he doesn't pull up trumps, he'll end up in that Scottish Premier League, Celtic or Rangers.
You know what you were saying, though? You know what you were saying earlier when Stu was saying players are lazy. And I said, I'm not sure that they are lazy. I don't think McTominay's lazy. What I said was about wanting the ball, showing that desire, having that. And I don't think he does enough of that.
Yeah.
You're right, he is wasteful when he's got it. But so many times where I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, where are you stood? What are you doing there? Yeah. Where are you for your defender when he's got to try to play out from the back? Where are you for the midfield partner? You've got a player in between you. Show a bit of movement, show a bit of, desire. And sometimes with McTominay, and I don't like saying this about a player, but I don't think he's got that sort of courage that you need. And it's not just about flying into tackles. I mean, showing for the ball, wanting it. Do you know what I mean? Taking a bit of responsibility, because he's not a kid anymore, McTominay. You remember when people used to take the mick, we always say young Jesse Lingard when he was 28. McTominay's what? Is he 20, 24, 25 now? Yeah. He's been in the first team 4 seasons. He's not a child. Do you know what I mean? He's an experienced player. So I agree with what you're saying,
Do you know the issue, fellas? The issue with McTominay is he doesn't know how to play himself back into a game. So when he has that issue, what you were saying, that he can't give, he doesn't know how to get hold of the ball, drop it 2 yards to get a little bit more confidence back, gets it again, puts it 3 yards. He doesn't know how to get back into a game of football. In fact, none of them do, really. When you look at the squad, we don't know. If we're having a bad game, we don't know how to get back into a game of football. And actually, that's really basics. When you cross that white line and you're on that pitch, it's quite basic. If you've given a couple of issues away, just take a deep breath. Make sure you play safe for the next 2, 3, 4 minutes to get yourself back into that game. And you're right, Jay, Webby, Dale, you're all right about him. He doesn't know how to do that. And I can't believe I'm even talking about that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, that was going to be my point on McTominay. I think McTominay would be the guy that I think, maybe Maguire as well, I reckon, because he had such a poor season last season. But I think McTominay just doesn't show up the ball. The amount of times I've seen him at Old Trafford, he's just hiding behind the opposition's midfield so he doesn't get the ball. It's really not. It's not good enough. I don't particularly think if he continues like that, he'll be gone next summer. And I think a Rangers or a Celtic could probably be a good shout. To be fair,
gives a good post-match interview though, so everyone loves it.
Yeah.
Well,
He'll come out and say like, oh, we weren't good enough and we need to do better, and everyone will be like, oh, it's captain material there.
No, but you know what? That gives me hope one day that I could become the captain of Manchester United because it gives all hope.
You two could be the manager no matter how you lot do. Yeah, definitely.
But that's honestly, that's what I mean. Like the thing is as well, I hope De Gea improves as well. I think he's he's my bugbear at the minute. God, he sticks to his line more times than a bloody Scouser on a Friday night. It does my head in. Right, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. Dale, is there anything you want to plug, any socials or anything, or channels or whatever?
Yeah, you can follow Stretty News or the blog strettynews.com, and of course, look, hopefully we speak again before the season starts. Hopefully we're speaking again next season, but a bit more optimism, because the last 12 years have been pretty dull. And I know that, and it sounds like people listening that all we do is complain about Manchester United, but I tell you, when we're back winning things, I'm going to be ramming it down some people's throats.
Kind of nothing else to do other than complain about United, to be fair.
Yeah.
Jay, anything you want to plug?
Well, you know what, find me on Stretford Paddock. I've also got my podcast with Davey Scott, Scotty and Motty. We'll be live tomorrow night. So if you want a bit of a relief from just moaning about Manchester United, come and moan about other things as well, like the modern world and what's going down. we all like to moan about that as well. So yeah, check me out on there. Thanks for having me on as well, guys. I've loved this, by the way. It's a long time since I've done a podcast with Dale and Webby, and it's good to chat to you as well, Stu. Obviously, Callum, me and you are sick of the sight of each other, but yeah, it's been a good one.
Well, yeah. Love driving past you on the way to the tram in the morning, Jay, to be fair.
Yeah, you always drive past me as well, man. Let me walk. It's so bad.
Oh, my God. It's 100 metres away from your house. Behave yourself. Webby, is there anything you want to plug, mate?
Yeah, obviously, subscribe to our channel, me and Tony. You know, it's a good laugh. Got a real big interview coming up in the next couple of weeks, which obviously you can't say anything now, but hopefully it'll help the running of the club in future years. You know, we've had a meeting with a gentleman who's big time. That's all I can say. I was actually buzzing to meet him. So watch this space. Tony's going to be speaking to him within the next week or so. Great news for the club. That's all I'm going to say. I'm buzzing about it, and you'll enjoy it, Reds.
Oh, look forward to that.
Sounds good, man. I look forward to that one, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Look forward to that. I mean, Stu, you can plug something if you want, but you're on this channel, so it's kind of a bit hard to plug this channel.
I got nothing to plug. I just it's nice to be on a show with United Royalty, YouTube Royalty. So thanks, lads, for letting me come onto this show. I'm obviously not on about Callum, lads, clearly. No, you know where you can find me on Twitter. And then me and Cal do a show. Well, I'm on Cal's show every Sunday. And I do a show on Monday on All for United. So, yeah, come and give me grief. You're more than welcome.
Good show, lads, and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks enjoyed it, yeah.
Thanks for coming on, lads. Really appreciate that.
I enjoyed that after 12 pints at the cricket today. Thought I did very well, lads. I never collapsed onto my bed, but there you go.
Well done.
Seasoned professional.
It was nearly a struggle for me. I've been hungover all day, so I'm glad I managed to get out of bed and talk football with you lads. I'm going to plug something, though. I know it's my show, so I'm allowed. I'm doing what I want. I'm going to plug something. I wrote a blog. I brought my blog back because I've not done it for about a year, because why would I want to write about this dross at the minute? But I thought what I'd do is write about the Glazers. So, theunitedroad.com, if you want to go check that out, released on Friday, I think. Can't remember, but it's new. So go read that, because I'm not going to lie, literally nobody's read it. So if you fancy going and reading that, feel free. But yeah, thanks a lot for coming on, lads. Really appreciate that. Hopefully we'll get you on again. Just give us a shout. And yeah, go check these lads out on Twitter and their YouTube channels and other stuff that they do. They're all really good. Yeah, appreciate that, lads. Make sure you go like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See you later, guys.
Cheers, lads. See you soon.
See you later, lads. Take care.
Cheers.